Throughout this week, Holy Week, we will encounter 6 people who had front row seats in this incredible, real-life drama that was the last week of Jesus' life. Sometimes this story feels only like a story to those of us who have heard it so many times, but it was real. It was painful and rich and life-changing for generations and generations of Christians after it. But how much more so for those who lived then and loved this man named Jesus. Just as we have found that there are gifts in the wilderness, these people perhaps also found their place in the world, their true calling, as a result of a walk in the wilderness of life. Let us allow these ancient people to call us more deeply into our faith story.
When they finished supper, Jesus got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" After he had washed their feet and returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? Learn from me. You call me teacher, Lord. If I have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet."
He continually baffled me. My whole time with him, one surprise after another, Jesus turned my world upside down. Especially when it came to relationships. We would worry about who was his right-hand man, and he always would turn it around with his last shall be first stories. I wanted to know where I stood with him. I needed for him to be my Lord, my master, my teacher, and he was. But then he went and washed our feet that night. None of us were of really high lineage, but we weren't slaves or servants. I mean, at the meal that night, there were people to wait on us. This is service that just comes with any good room rented out for a meal. But I had planned to wash his feet that night. I was overwhelmed with love for him and fear for his life. I had this nagging need to know him, demonstrate to him that I would do anything for him. But before I could even begin, he knelt before me. He insisted on washing my feet. I was horrified. I thought maybe he was losing his mind. One more time, he reversed the way I thought things would go. He just kept doing that. He said to me, "You can't be part of the family of God, the kingdom of God, Peter, if you don't let me do this." As if I couldn't see that he really meant what he said about serving our neighbors, our friends, and our enemies. He always kept me off balance. I thought I knew what he meant, and then it seemed like I just wasn't getting it. I had to surrender all my preconceived ideas about how relationships are, how they go, who we love. I had to surrender and let his loving act of washing my feet heal my soul and heal every disappointing relationship I'd ever had.
Jesus used water to model the kind of love we must have for one another, a love that serves the least of our brothers and sisters. Today, we ask ourselves the question, what are we doing to live like Jesus did and serve the least of these?